Remember, now you know how to create and drop databases, and it's necessary to use them, though we'll look at an alternative way of using them instead of the use statement. The SQL mode, strict all tables, basically is just setting some parameters in your environment. So if you're this is your local machine, so you could have changed it, but if you're working on a server, you can go and change those settings yourself. So it's just better to set whatever variables you want in your own code, right? That way you know what's going on. So the strict alt table is basically the not null and false. So I expected you to put your name and date. Hopefully you did that. The rest of the comments I had done for you. And this is all I'm looking for, a well-documented script to begin with. It's not a big thing, right? I'm not saying give me a line for every line you write, just because MySQL, as you know, is so English-like. But at least this, if nothing else, okay? And there will always be marks for it. We did talk about varchars, decimal, not null, and oh, I should have done this, and I think I did. I had made this unsigned, if you remember. I said it would be a better, since we know that it won't be negative, we had gone with unsigned. I think I had made that change before I gave in your file, but maybe I didn't make it in my own personal copy. So we kind of said the drink name could be 20 or 30, whatever it was. And again, educated guesses, please, right? Educated, you're not guessing, you're making an educated guess. We talked about enumerated Y and N, and I'm not sure if I mentioned, but a student pointed out to me, he's not here, Pritinder is not here. He pointed out that you can't put this Y and N in double quotes. I mean, I didn't think about it. I just use single quotes. I didn't think that could you use double or single, but in enumerated data type, you can only use single quotes, right? That's how it works. Plus, you know that they are strings, they are text data. You cannot put numbers in an enumerated data type. The other thing is, since I haven't set my collating sequence to be strict, I mean, it's not case sensitive. I'm only putting in a capital Y and a capital N. Automatically, the small y and the small n will work. So you can input capital Y, capital N, small n. Those are the 4 inputs you can give to the ICE field, nothing else. Though there is something else also. Y and N also have a value 1 and 2 for your information. So you could put a 1 and 2 and that will also work. But we'll kind of keep away from it, but it's done. But 3, 4 and all this will not work, and A, B, C, etc. will not work. So making something enumerated simply says these are the values that are allowed in my field, which is much better than saying character 1, because character 1 could mean A, B, C, D, anything, stars, question mark, anything, which is kind of not what we want in the ICE field. We made all our fields not null, which meant every value had to be given. There was no default for anything, but I mean, you can always put a default here if you don't want to use the complete list. Okay, let's quickly go through now the select statements. So your job is, as I'm marking it, you will mark your own and you will make a count. So if I say that's 1 mark, you'll put a mark for you, for yourself. If not, then it's a 0, right? Partial marks will kind of keep away from it because it makes no sense. I mean, either it is correct or it is incorrect, is what I mean. But if there is something that you've done differently and you want to say, can I do it this way? Ask, okay? Okay, so let's look at the first one. So you mark yourself, and at the end of the class or during break time or whatever, come to me and put your mark for me on my sheet, and then I'll mark it, right? But there's no feedback on Blackboard now. I won't put any feedback on Blackboard. Okay, so let's look for the first one. Select the drinks that have name starting with an L, right? So it starts with an L. The rest we have no clue. It just starts with an L. You cannot use an equal to here. You have to use like, because equal to, remember, was an exact match. So I'm saying it starts with an L. The rest could be anything at all. There's nothing else. I haven't given you any other information. So you have to use like. Like is a non-exact match. And with like, you definitely have to use a wildcard character. You could be using the percentage. You could be using the underscore. Underscore stands for exactly 1 character, and percentage for any 0 or any number of characters. There is no sense. Logically, it is not correct to put a percentage here. It is not. I mean, it will work because percentage also stands for 0 characters, but logically it doesn't work. So I will definitely dock off marks if I see a percentage just for the heck of it. So it should be L. You could use a small L or a capital L, doesn't matter, just because we are not making it case sensitive. And you say L and a percentage. If you have this exactly like I have it, give yourself a mark, right? So no equals at all, the like with a percentage. Any questions on question number 1? You're all okay? Okay, good. Let's look at the other one. Select drink names. So we are only looking for drink names. Okay, so select drink name of all drinks that have more than 15 carbs. If I say drink name, you cannot put a star here. So if you've put a star, you will dock off marks in it. You will dock off 0.25, a quarter mark out of 1. You will, because you're not paying attention to the question, right? So it says select drink name from the table, and the condition is where carbs is greater than 15, not equal, have more than 15 carbs. If for whatever reason you put an equal to sign here, just dock off 10%, which is a 0.1. So give yourself a 0.9. Okay, so that's how I mark. So now you know my marking style also while I explain. So if I see an equal to sign is missing, or you've extra put an equal to sign, I'll say, I mean, you should be looking at the question. So I'll just dock off 0.1, which is 10% off your end. But if I'm saying you're not even paying attention to what fields I want, I'm going to be strict so that you're not making that mistake again, right? Any questions on 2? All okay? Okay, let's go ahead. So if you have anything else, just say, this is what I've done. What should I give myself? Yes.
Sorry, you said you didn't want part marks, but you said to dock a quarter mark.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not as if it's logically wrong. You know what I mean? When I say 0 or 1, I'm talking about the logic of the question.
Oh.
But things like this are more syntax. So it works, the answer is correct, but you didn't pay attention to what fields I want. So logically, it is either wrong or right. But here, like syntactically, greater than 15, you missed. If you said greater than equal to 15, you added extra records, which you shouldn't have. Yeah. Right? So I say, okay, like it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not a huge thing. But if there is no answer or the answers are completely wrong, then of course I'm not marking. But here I still give you some marks. I do. Right? So logically and syntax are two different things. Right? So logically, if it is not working, it's not working. It's 0. But syntactically, so I'm trying to draw your attention that don't keep in mind. If I say these are the column names I want, that's what I want. So pay attention to it. Okay, so it says drinks that have no calorie information. Now here is a question. Since it was an in class, you did it in class. Some students asked me. They said no calorie information could be calories equal to 0, right? That could also be a no calorie information, but this kind of was a hint saying that I'm talking about null. So maybe if I wanted to maybe word it better, then I'll say I could add defined here. Now that kind of makes it clear. Defined, something is defined or something is undefined definitely means null or not null, right? But again, the remember null was there, and maybe a couple of students asked me and I clarified it. So you'll say, but you said the field is not null in your table description. How are you asking for a question which will never be true? Like it will never work, like it's an irrelevant question. I'm just trying to see if you know how is null and not null is. And you don't know about anything. You don't even know what data or whatever it is in it. I said never peek. Just answer the question as it has been asked. So no equal to here. If you have an equal, 0. It will not work. It won't. The equal to null will not work. So here it's either full or what, and it said select all drinks. So a star will do, right? And where calories is null. So I'm looking for is null. So maybe the word defined will help. Yes, Ben.
I took the calories from question 3 and the cost from question 4 and flipped them. But other than that, it's correct. I guess I just misread the top one.
Okay, so
I was doing them.
Okay, so you said cost is not null here. Okay, okay. We'll take it for this time, okay? Right, yeah. So be careful as you mark them. The 3 and the 4 keep what it is, right? They're entirely wrong answers. But again, as I said, it's okay. It's not a big deal. But I mean, be careful, okay? Select question number 4. Select all drinks that have a defined cost. As soon as you have the word defined, always think null and not null. That's the only way I can ask that question. I can't say it is not null. Then I'm giving out the answer. So whenever I'm talking in terms of defined or not defined, whether it's Java, whether it's SQL, whether any other language, defined means it is null or not null. And having a value means it could have a value 0. Having a value means it could have the empty string. Those are values. Those are values, proper values that can go into a field. But defined or not defined means it doesn't exist. So what are you talking about? If it doesn't exist, how are you checking is there a blank in it or a 0 in it? So all you had to say was, again, cost is not null. If you have is not null, give yourself 1 mark. If you have not equal to or this 0, right? Because it won't work. right? I know you'll say, but there was nothing, so it's okay. But I know it's okay for this table, but try removing non-null and see, and it won't work. You won't see it. It won't work. So if you have it exactly like I have it, give yourself a mark. Okay. Select the name, cost, carbs, and calories of all drinks. So notice what I've asked. 4 fields. Name, cost, carbs, and calories. I've asked for 4 fields only. The order doesn't matter. It's not necessary that you write it in the same order that I have, but yes, the fields that I've asked of you should be there. If you've missed that, quarter mark gone, right? Okay, and calories of all drinks that have go embedded in their name. Go embedded. Embedded means anywhere in their name. Embedded, right? Again, if you are kind of not sure about English words, you have 2 options. You can either ask me or you can look it up in the dictionary. Whatever works for you. But of course, you should know the question before you answer it. So embedded is a common word. Embedded means just inside, but again, you could be using a different word for it, and I use a different word for it. So you can always clarify questions like this. At least, at most, between, through. These are things that are kind of common in English language, but again, not everybody thinks about it. So sure, ask. So embedded means definitely like, not an equal to. So if you haven't used like, it's done, finished. We're not even talking about, right? And embedded, a percentage before, a percentage after. That's what embedded means. It could be anywhere. You can't miss the first percentage. You can't miss the second percentage. Anybody who's different from what I've written here, and we'll see if we can give partial marks. Good. Okay. So the only if you've forgotten could be this dock of quarter. Unless you dock it off, you'll never remember it again. Okay. So that's embedded. Same thing, that end with an N, right? Remember we said starts with an N, and now I mean an end with an L. Again, you need a like and not an equal to. You cannot use any wildcard characters with equal, and you should be using wildcard characters with like. So it says end with an N. And again, if you've done this, you kind of don't know what you're doing. I know it will work because because percentage stands for 0 or more character, but that's not what I want. So I'm not giving you marks if it's not done. I'm asking embedded, I'm saying starts, I'm saying ends. There has to be a difference. Okay, so that's exactly what I need from you. Anything else? Ask. Here it says use the relational operators and the and verb. Sometimes I'll be very specific of what I'm looking at. We know queries can be answered in different ways, right? But again, I'm looking at something because maybe I've already tested you in something somewhere else, and in this question I want to test you with what I need. So remember, these are assignments and exams, so they will have a academic point view, right? But outside world, you can choose whatever makes more sense to you. So I'll always give you all solutions. You're most welcome to give me more than one solutions if you want. If you want feedback, I can always do that. But you have to answer my question like I want it. So you can say this is your answer, and you can say this is a better way, or these are more ways. That depends upon you. And whenever I have it, I'm assuming you're asking for feedback, and I'll say, yep, this is better, I know, and this is something I wanted to add. So you can do that. That's up to you. Okay, there's no problem there. But again, from my point of view, I'm saying, have I tested them on everything that I have taught in class? So select the name and the cost of all the drinks. So only the name and the cost, right? So the name and the cost. Yes.
So please copy and paste it from the question 4.
See, that is what will happen. So therefore, I'm strict with my names. Okay, let's do just this for the first time, because this was your first attempt, right? Instead of taking a quarter off, take 10% off. So 0.1 everywhere you've made a mistake. Is that okay? So that way you're not losing a lot of marks. But remember, this is important, because again, my aim is, have you done it? Okay. So the first couple of assignments, I kind of say, okay, do it. But some students still never pay attention. So taking off a quarter, if you've done that mistake in 4 places, you've lost a mark, which is quite a big, if you kind of look at percentages, right? And that's what I'm trying to get to you. You have to be careful. I want the perfect answers from you, because I want to make perfect programmers out of you, right? That's my aim. And again, you have the full chance, you can look at it. So for everybody, I knew it would come. So for everybody, just for this assignment, kind of just take off 0.1 everywhere, because each question is 1 mark. So I'm only taking off 10%. I know quarter is quite a big thing. Okay, so now it says you have to use the relational operators. Yes.
I use between and where Carol is between 30 and 30.
Right. So what does it say? So you have to be careful. Okay, so if you've used between and whatever, this time quarter mark off. Give yourself 0.75, right? But you won't get it. You won't get it in future because it's lost, right? You didn't answer what I wanted. Okay. Okay. And again, I'm always more lenient in my in classes just because they're not worth so much at the end of the day. But this time I'm kind of thinking that let's just do on in classes. That way we can discuss and whatever. And then you will keep, I know when you do it yourself, it keeps in your head. When you see a feedback, you don't pay that much attention. So that also helps you to say, this is important. Right? And maybe in the real world, as I said, it will not matter. Maybe between is better because it's available. So why not use it? But my aim was relational operators and the verb. Select the name and the cost. And I think it said of all the drinks that have calories in the range of 30 to 60 inclusive. So both have to be included. So definitely between was not wrong. But if it was not inclusive here, but then definitely between was wrong, right? So inclusive means both have to be included. English word inclusive and exclusive is what it is coming from. So simple, relational operator greater than equal to 30, relational operator less than equal to 60, and the and verb. So if you've said where calories between 30 and 60, give yourself 3/4 of a mark. Just this time, guys, just this time. Okay, select all the information of drinks. So all the information, right? Star. That begin with the letter 3. Now this was the only dicey one, right? That begins with the letter G through O using the between verb now. So nothing else. I know there are more solutions. Some students were looking at regex P. I don't know if they're from this section or the other one. There is a verb, regex, and it works. So I was a little confused with how it was working because regex comes from regular expressions, right? Regular expressions is a programming technique or a notion which kind of works this way. Let me explain it very roughly. It's a whole topic in itself. You could have a whole course on reg expressions because the compilers use it a lot. So when you write something like if, for example, in a program, or you use a reserved word, suppose, or you have declared a variable called student info, just for the heck of it, right? And then you again use it somewhere, student and something. What the compiler does is it tries to see that has it seen this before, and it kind of compares using regular expressions. Regular expressions are expressions that could be, I'll give you an example. So suppose I say you can use any character between A and B. This is how I would write it. This is how I would make a comparison. So A, B, C, D, if that's what it contains, it's okay. Anything but A, B, C. A to D, or you can even write it this way. And the capitals A, B, C, D. So they are basically, regular expressions are basically expressions that allow you to compare values with what is allowed. And there is a whole range. You could do so much with it. So when, for example, you are taking input from the user and you're taking his or her name, what should only be allowed? You should only be allowed letters, blank, and the apostrophe. That's it, nothing else. So you will form a regular expression saying all I need, all the user can give is A to Z, the blank character, and the apostrophe. You will make a set out of it. This is called a regular expression. And then you will say that the name must kind of belong to this. And that's how you will check for it. Okay, so these are called regular expressions. So you could have used regular expressions, though as I said, something I didn't like about it when I was looking through the posts and everything, but I'm going to look at it as to how it can be done and then let you know. I'm not satisfied. It was working. I found an example. The students found an example and they said, can you explain what it means? And I did, but I'm not so sure of what it is doing. So it is working a little differently from my concepts of regular expressions. So I'll look into how my SQL works with it and I'll let you know, okay? Maybe in a future example. So my aim was to use the between verb. Keep in mind, between is an exact verb, like something like this. It exactly compares a value. Okay, so when you say between G and P, you are including all the drinks G, go, God, good, because remember, go is more than G, God is more than G, good is more than G. So G will be included and anything that starts with the G will also be included because the between says G and more. You cannot, it's absolutely illogical to say this. So some of you may have done this. And maybe that's how you started. You said anything that begins with G through O So there, G and anything and O and anything, but that's incorrect. Logically, between is an exact verb. It's like an equal. It's not like. You cannot do this. This is incorrect. And it wouldn't have worked if you paid attention. You'll say, okay, let's do this then. Now, the problem here was G all rings, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, M, N till all rings, but it stops at O. So the only drink that gets included is a drink called O. That's it. So oh my gosh will not get included. But you want all drinks of O also included. So I said, okay, I kind of gave a hint. Instead of G and O, go till P. Perfectly fine. Now everything of O's also gets included. But the only drink that does get included if it is present in the table is a drink called P. So remove it. Remove it. You don't have to say name like, not like. No. The only extra drink that gets included is a drink called P. So now, I don't know how many of you, anything variant from what I have done? Yes.
I did between G and P and not drink, maybe.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
That's perfectly fine. Yes.
I did between G and O, and then there's like a squiggly line, and you put double quotes around it. So I don't need to add this group.
Okay, so what is this now? Where did you find this now?
I looked it up and,
And it works?
yeah.
Okay, let's see. This one. No database selected. Yeah, you will have to run it once completely first. Just run the whole. Okay, now select that and only run that so that we don't have to look for answers. Now only select it. Or if you know which one it is, go ahead. 1, 2, 3. It's 8. Number 8. Let's try it. So that's not it. So maybe 9. Yeah, so there it is, right? Yeah, okay. So let's see what you have. And I'll have to look it up. So, Caitlin? Yeah. Caitlin has used this. She said she looked it up. And she didn't have to do the...
You have to put them in double quotes.
Oh, in double quotes. Oh, okay, so maybe there is something to do with double quotes, you think? They said it has to be in double quotes?
Yeah, because I tried putting them in single quotes and it didn't work.
This is what she's done. So I'll have to look it up because definitely she looked it up. And it works, she says. And it works. I saw it. This is what she's done. So that means what is this character here? And it's in double quotes. You can't use single quotes is what she's saying. So I don't know what it is. You can put it on your comments or wherever you want and we'll look it up. I'll have to. I don't know what it means. Yes. Yes, we'll talk about that. Yeah, definitely. So that will work also. Anything else that is different from what I see, Chelsea?
I just did not like P and then percentage.
Yeah, but with what? Like or equal?
Like,
Where is it? Yeah, okay. So be careful that this tells me why did you include this? We were not thinking because the only thing that gets included is P. Okay, so that's fine. So in future, just not equal to or whatever, right? Whatever. So if you've put a not here, so this time we will let it go. But you have to say, why am I saying P percentage? Because the only drink that does get included is the drink called P. You'll never have pa or pop included. Because what does it stop at? P. Okay. Okay, so I'll copy this just because Caitlin has told us what it was. Oh, so you know what I'll do? Okay, so this is what we have, right? This is what will definitely work, right? And again, some of you have put a not here and not drink name is equal to P. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Chelsea has said drink name not like, right? Like not or whatever, right? So she's used like here and then she put a percentage here. Not wrong, but again, not the perfect answer because you're not bothering. You're just saying, oh, P will be included. Yeah, but only a drink called P. Only a drink called P will be included. But at least she's not used this. She's used not like. So she knows that percentages have to be used with not like. And the answer is logically correct. Logically, it is not wrong. But again, I'm trying to see, do you know perfectly what you're talking about? So we'll keep at this. But definitely, I'll have to look up with what Caitlin is saying because it is interesting. It is interesting. And she says only double quotes. So you can copy this down. And maybe while you're working on something else today, if we have the time, I'll kind of look at it. So tilde usually stands for not, right? Tilde usually stands for not. And then, of course, she doesn't need this, right? She doesn't need this. and it works. Now I'll have to just kind of take care. Did you put in your table a drink called say pea and pop? Yes, you did. Okay. So if it works with those, then we are okay. Now there is a third one here. Can I have your name? Come on. Jonathan, no. Okay, so he has another one, which is very interesting, right? Which is very interesting. And it's absolutely right. Logically, it's absolutely right. What he did was he said, why should I kind of think what is going on? Let's do this. And he just used, oh, here, I've already written it. I already have it. Okay, here it is. I think he did this one, right? That's what you did. So he said, I'll use a G and an O, right? So between G and O means start with, it's between G and O. And it said the left of the drink name was 1. So he took the leftmost character and only the first character, leftmost first character. So the left function picks up the leftmost 1 character and compares it with 2. That's what it does. So basically it works this way. You'll say, but does the between work first or does the left work first? The left will work first. If the between worked first, then of course it will not work. You know what I mean? Because between says I'm only selecting P to P2, but the left is working first. So this is how it works. Picks up the record, looks at the leftmost character. If it is between G and O, it says here is your answer. So when it comes to oh my gosh, it picks up the record. It picks up the first character. The first character is an O, and O is between G and O, and it points it out. So all drinks that are starting with O will be included when you use this, but will nothing with P and so on. So with the between, I said I wanted between. You could do whatever you wanted extra, but the between was required. With the between, if you use left, the left works first, and then it kind of checks with between. So this will work. If it was opposite, if between was done first and then the left was done, then it's of no use at all. Then oh my gosh will never get included, right? So it says what I've said, and it simply says take the leftmost character, look up the left function. It's quite intuitive. It's available in all languages, looking at lefts and rights and trimming and so on. So if you have any of these 3, give yourself a mark. If for whatever reason you have an O and you didn't write this, you said, so oh my gosh doesn't get included at all. But at least you thought of it, give yourself half a mark. Take half. You said between P and O, but you never thought of, oh my gosh doesn't get included. You have to think, right? Always compare your answers after you've done a query. But the aim is that you do it and then you don't have to compare even. You should be so good at it that you know your answers will be good. Okay, what did you do?
I just noticed something. I named my table just drinks, not table drinks.
That's okay, no big deal.
Awesome.
Be careful in future, right? Just because I'm running the same script on my computer, I don't want 1001 tables to be created and then I'll have to delete them afterwards. You know what I mean? So if I know that everybody called it DB data drinks and table drinks, then all I have to do is just delete one of the tables. If you start calling your tables, that's the aim. That's not the aim. The aim is that it's less work again for me. I don't want to do it. If I have 54 students and they start calling their databases and their tables, whatever they like, when I've marked all the assignments, I have 54 databases to be deleted from my local machine because I don't want to keep it, right? This way I know that all of you have the same database name at least. So all I do is I just clean one. Otherwise, I have databases and databases on my local machine and they take up space. So that's the aim, right? So at least if the database is same, doesn't matter if the table name is different. But it would be nice just to kind of follow instructions because that's one thing you definitely will have to do in the real world. Follow your boss's instructions. Okay? Okay, so any of these will do. And if you forgot line number 78 but wrote the first one, I'll give you half a mark. Just again, at least you thought about it. But between G and O are exact matches. It's like an equal. So it starts with G and anything after G will work. And it stops at O, stops at the letter O. So, oh my gosh, oh, what a day, nothing, that will not work. So the last is O, the first is G. So definitely anything between G and O gets included. So you don't use a percentage with between, it's logically incorrect. And again, it will work because you know what? SQL is not so good at saying what will not work. So again, but you will again miss. So definitely if you've said between G percentage and O percentage, gone. I'm not giving you marks for that at all. You're not using between properly and you don't know what is going on. But if you forgot your 78, that's okay. Or if you added a P here saying, oh, now O will be included and still forgot line number 78, still you give yourself half a mark, both ways, okay? This I'll have to check. This definitely, I don't know. The tilde usually stands for a not, but definitely here it is not standing for a not. And there is a requirement that it be in double quote. So there is something text comparison that is going on here, something like this, which I'll have to look up, right? I've never used it. I've never used it. So these are the two that I thought of. This is more neater. This is more neater just because it's shorter. But I mean, there is nothing wrong in this. Like at least you're thinking. So this was the only dicey one. 8th was the only dicey one, which would have taken more than maybe 5 minutes to do. Select all the drinks, all the drink names that do not have ice. So ice is equal to no or ice is not equal to Y, both will work. But now it depends. I have used enumerated YN, so I'm safe. For example, if you had used character and you had input something like A, B, C, everything was possible. And if you say not equal to Y, A, B, C, D, sub, everything get included. So it's always better to see that the data that you input is correct and you're kind of enforcing that rule. And when you check, try to check with equality rather than not equal, because the not equal may also include something that is not making sense. So ice is equal to do not have ice. Ice is equal to no. That's more thinking logically, like ice, no ice, ice is equal to no. So ice not equal to Y will do in my case because I had created an enumerated YN. So I'm okay. But keep in mind, we don't know what it will be if you used a character. So you have to think about from every view when you answer queries. I don't think anybody would have that wrong, but there it is, right? All drinks that are either yellow or orange, either. So or an or. So it says the or verb. And then I say repeat the query by using an in. So in, remember, in was a set. You said, are you in this set? If you are, here it is. Use the not in the verb to select all drinks that are neither yellow nor orange. You have no clue what the other drink colors are. Please don't go and peek. If you've done that, it's a 0. You don't peek in the table at all. My question is neither yellow nor orange. It is not in this set. That's it. I'm not concerned about what the other colors are. So you'll say in and you start looking at other colors, brown and red, and you're going back to the table and you are browsing it to see what colors are available. You can do a select color from that table and you know what the colors are, but why are you doing extra work? You shouldn't be doing extra work. So answer the query with what information is given in the question. That's all I want from you. So that's the not in. Write a select to display all drinks with a cost greater than 3 and carbs less than 15. The question is quite clear. Greater than 3, I didn't ask for equality, and less than 15. I mean, that's the only thing there is in it, if you kind of look at it. So the and verb didn't say anything about between, but between will not be used because between will not work. 3 and 15 are not included. So greater than 3 and less than 15. If you have it exactly, I have it, give yourself a mark. Write a select statement to display the first 5 records. You can say limit 5, you can say limit 0, 5. Both will work. By default, the offset is 0. So offset says where do I start, and then the second parameter is the number of records, not where do I end. Kind of no. If the offset is different, how many? So offset and how many is what it is. So 108 line, I don't think there is any partial marks to be talked about at all because there is nothing much to be done. Either you can say limit 0, 5 or you can say limit 5. Both will work. Both are fine. Okay, that takes care of this assignment. So somewhere in between during the break, please come over and give me your marks and be honest about it. It's not a big deal at all. So now no feedback will come back on Blackboard. I'll just go through your scripts very quickly. It takes me less than 5 minutes and I'll match your marks and there you are. Okay, so I'll post them on Blackboard.
Sorry, how much was creating the table worth? Or is that worth anything?
Nothing. It was given by me. Remember, the creation was assignment 1.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I gave it to you because I said maybe you didn't do your assignment 1, or if you want it, I said use your own if you like. Yeah, but no, nothing. Only the 14 select statements are worth marks. Maybe the 8th maybe in the 8th, no, it's just 1 for everything. That's what we've done, right? 1 for everything. Yes.
But if you didn't call
You mean each select statement?
Like comment.
I commented it before I gave it to you. I commented my script before I gave it to you.
I didn't.
You didn't take my script, you used your own script. Okay, that's okay. I'm just trying, because maybe you didn't, maybe many students didn't do it in assignment 1. I kind of said, see how I have commented it. But there were no marks for commenting in this script. They weren't. Yes, there were marks. If you've missed that, so let's put 1 mark for that. That will make it a even 15, right? If I don't see your name and date, 0. If you haven't given your name and date, it's a 0. Okay? If you've given your name and date, take a 1. So now it's a even 15. It is important. All I asked from you was your name and date. I think I gave you the purpose. I did this. The script was given by me, but I wanted your name and date on it. So that makes it even. So that's a bonus mark, kind of a free bonus mark, because that's hardly anything to be asked. So when you're done, I won't ask and I won't pass the sheet around, because then everybody can look at each other's mark. But during break or whatever, just come and let me know and I'll put it here. Okay, I have your names. All those students who were present last week in class, I have your names here. Okay, so that takes care of assignment number 2. Select statements. So now let's look at today more complicated select statements. Work with a new data type called date. Look at what it is and how different is it from a text field, though it looks like text, and we will definitely be able to do inserts and deletes. Any questions on what we've done? Are you all satisfied with what you did, of what we've discussed, and everything okay? Okay, yes. Okay, good. Thanks. A good thumbs up sign will do. Okay, now please go to Blackboard, and for today's lesson, please download from your course shell under weekly learning. I'll tell you the file to download. Give me a minute, because I keep placing so many files. I forget names myself. Class scripts 2016. Please download start lesson 3. Right? So Blackboard, weekly learning, class scripts S 2016, and please download start lesson 3. The rest of the files that we've done in class are all here, and I'm placing both sections, though they may or may not be different a lot, but sometimes students ask me something and I answer it, and maybe it's only in their script and not in the others. So it's up to you. So everything that we've kind of done is here. So you will download start lesson 3, and then I'll put up, if you are unable to complete it, maybe we are able to complete it. I'm trying to bring you a little faster than the other section. So you're not a lesson apart, you're maybe half a lesson apart. So this is for them. Don't worry about the incomplete. You are most welcome to take that instead of the start if you just want to listen to me. At the end, we will do that. Okay, so but it's a good experience to do it yourself. So start lesson 3 is what you want, and once you have it, open it, please. And we'll do it. So this is done and finished, and it's marked. I only have to do a quick marking now. And there's not much. I don't know, maybe students were not present. So both sections together, they were not 55 or whatever they are. Okay, so let's open the script. So I'm going to open the same script that you're downloading from Blackboard. Where did I put it now? Oh, there you are, Monday. There, employee. It's not May. I did it in May, but it's not May now. Oh, May 2015. Look at my date. That's the first thing you will do, definitely. You can put a right date now, just because we have 2 sections. I usually just go the month name. Here I'm kind of behind a year. So I did it, and then I had forgotten also to call my table employee. So we'll do it now. So anywhere we'll change the table name to table employee. Just I'm going to keep the same convention. So you'll see that it can be done. So to create an employee database called DB employee that stores information about employees in the table, just call it TBL employee. I mean, you don't have to. I'm just doing it because I want to follow a convention in all my classes. Right? And we will learn how to do query the data, your select statements, more today, little different from what you have done, and to do updates and deletes. Okay. So now, since I'm going to change it, I don't think it's at many places, right? Oh, it will be in all my select statements. Okay, so let's do this. I mean, you don't have to, it depends upon you. So So I'm going to do a find and replace. I had called the table employee, and I'll call it TBL employee, but I won't do it everywhere. It will come in my comments and everything. So I'm going to do one by one. Okay. So where are we right now? No, not in this one. Not in this one, not in this one, not in this one. This is what happens, and this is what happened when I tried to do it last time. So now I'm more careful. Yeah, so let's replace. Go back one and let's replace. Nope. Yes. Okay. Here is something I've done, and I'll come back to line number 31. Okay. So you can do it if you like. You don't have to if you don't like it. I mean, I don't have a lot, so I'll just do it. So I've given you incomplete, so it necessarily will not run. It may have syntax errors. I can see a red right there because I didn't complete it. Okay. I thought I had changed it. Maybe I did it for the other section and I didn't replace it on Blackboard. My mistake. You can just leave it. You don't have to do it at all. If I won't follow my own conventions, I can't expect you to follow them. And again, I've given maybe more than one ways of doing a query. It's just telling you different ways. Oh, my mistake. I think I gave the other section the file and I forgot to replace it on Blackboard. And it's not complete. You'll have, if you run the script, you'll have problems. So don't worry about it. We have to complete it today. I think we're okay now. Okay. Okay, so you know lines. Again, please notice how I put a neat and clean purpose at the head, and that's exactly what I'm wanting from you, right? So no assignment ones, assignments two, please. I need a proper good purpose of the script, what the script does. So I said to create an employee database called this that stores information employees in the table this, query the data and do updates and deletes. That's what my query does today, this one. That's what it does. And that's all I'm expecting from you. Okay, please keep in mind, I forgot to put a comment here, but this one is basically setting the environment. You are already familiar with the strict all tables. I'll talk about updates when we do updates. Basically, if you forget line number 11, then we will comment it out. I'll show you the effect. It won't allow you to update your records. It says, oh, you're trying to update something. Let me know that updates are allowed. And all you are saying is SQL safe updates is equal to 0. Let it go, right? So you can do it. So that's the set statement. So I'll show you when we come to updates that you can't work without 11. It will come up with an error or a warning. I forget. Maybe warning. I don't remember what it is, but it is either an error or a warning and you have to set it, right? Will you always know what to set before you do something? No, not necessarily. You won't, right? I mean, when you try something and you say, oh, it's not working, not null isn't working, what's wrong? Let's see and try to find out. I just know it because I've taught the course before. Right? That's how I know it. I'm sure when I did it for the first time as a student or whatever, I had to look it up too. And there are quite a few set statements you can do. I use what I need. Okay. Drop existing database. If it exists, create it and use it. Again, you don't have to give 3 lines. You could have combined it into one comment and that's perfectly fine. I just went one by one. Create the employee table structure. Notice the use of, yeah, this is for you. Use of database name dot table name. You may not use the database. So this is qualification. So you can remove your use statement if you're going to qualify your table everywhere in your script. Then you'll have to qualify, right? Now some people find it easy. Then you don't have to say use a database and then you want to use another one in the same script. You'll have to use another one. So at any given time, only one database can be active with the use statement. But with qualification, it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like you can say database name 1 dot table 1, database name 2 dot some other table. So you can keep using it throughout your script without use a database, and then you say, oh, I want to use another one, use, and then, oh no, I have to go back again, use. So you can, I mean, you can do that if you like, or you can qualify your names. Okay, so whatever works, but you need to know that one use, you can write 2 uses and say use what, if this is not present, use this one. If this is not present, that won't work. Like a student was putting tables on remote, and he said, I'll put you both use statements. If you're going to do it on your local machine, it will use yours. Otherwise, it will use mine. That doesn't work. Use statement means use a particular database. So you could use more than one databases in a script, but every time you will have to write a new use statement and one use at a time. This way, you don't have to use the use statement, and you can just, but you have to qualify it everywhere in your script. I mean, not only in one statement, wherever I use it. So I've just shown you the use, but I mean, this is not for my script. I should remove this. You may not use the database. This is because I have just done it in this particular statement. I haven't done it anywhere else. If I did that, then I would have done it, but may qualify the table wherever needed. This is called qualification, right? I think I'll remove this comment because for me, it is not true in this one. Okay, so let's look at my employee table. We can improve it if you think things can be done better. The employee number, I went with a small int unsigned. It could have been bigger. For usually with student numbers, employee numbers, and so on, we kind of go varchar. Or if it is of a fixed size, we go char. Like your student numbers. They are numbers. We know they are numbers. They look like numbers. But do we ever do math with them? No. So I would recommend that for employee numbers. I used a small int because our employee numbers are just 4-digit. So because that was in my mind and I used it. But again, to bring it to point, a better data type would be a character field, not even a varchar. When you're working, if you're writing an application and you're doing it for a client, the client will exactly tell you that all employee numbers are size 8 or all student numbers are size 10. So it's kind of fixed, that they don't vary. Whatever, they put a code in, maybe the year start 2000, whenever I joined, whatever it was. So maybe 2016 and then a number. But it will always be of a fixed size for all employees, for all student numbers. So instead of this, I won't change it because my data is all in and everything. But instead of this and your student numbers, for example, a good type would be a character field instead of an int field. Imagine what will you need for your student number. I think they're 8-digit, right? I think you need a long int. You won't be able to even work with an int, maybe with an unsigned int. So why even bother? You don't do any math with these. Like you don't do any math with phone numbers. You don't. So go with character. So let's look at the flaws in my script and saying what would be better. So I chose a small int unsigned because I know there's no signed in an employee number, and I chose a small int just because I was thinking about my employee number. Okay, and they're small, they're 4-digit. So I said that was okay. Though 4-digit, it will also not work with a small int. It goes from 0 to 255 actually, right? So a small int will not work for me too. Now that I realize it. What was between a small int and a int? There was another type. Oh, small int is okay. I'm thinking tiny int. Okay, small int is okay. The tiny int goes from 0 to 255. Small int will work for me, 4-digit. Yeah, that's fine. That's why I went with small int. So I'll stick to it. But definitely, if you want to put a note for yourself, wouldn't char be better? You can put a note for yourself because it makes sense. Right? It makes sense. It's not a number. You don't do any math with it. We never say, is your employee number greater than mine? Or we never say, add up the employee numbers. Like, we don't do any math with these. So wouldn't char be better? And the answer is yes. Okay. Employee name, varchar 30, varchar 40, 50, anything will do. It's not a big deal. I could go 40 if you like, or 50, really doesn't matter. Because names are usually okay with 30 and 40. Job description, for my data, as I'm saving it, programmer, analyst, and so on, 20 is more than enough. Again, your client will say, these are our job types, and there wouldn't be thousands. There will be certain number. You'll say, okay, that makes sense. You could even do enumerated if you like, right? So if the job descriptions in a company are fixed, you could create an enumerated with it. So that's perfectly fine too. Manager number, again, every employee, some employees may not have it. Some employees may not have managers because the manager, the topmost won't have a manager, but every employee has a manager. And you're keeping this information as who is the manager of this employee. So I'm keeping only his or her employee number. Remember, the manager's own information will also be in the table because he's a regular employee also. So you don't repeat information. You're not keeping manager's name and so on. His name is already somewhere. But what I'm keeping is the manager number in a record. So a person who doesn't have a manager, maybe there are some, right? There are different departments, every manager, that's it, no more managers above it, then their value will be null. So this field cannot be not null. But should this field be not null? What do you say? Should be, if you're keeping information. So add. Should the employee name be not null? Add. It doesn't matter to my data. Should job description be not null? Yes. And you can give it a default if you like, right? So we've done defaults also. Let's do it. So what would you like? So I'm saying that the default is programmer. Maybe that's the minimum I take. I just call them programmer. Or some companies call them staff, for example, right? They just call them staff. The default is staff. So if you're just entering the company, you automatically are a trainee. Some people just say trainee. So you could give any default you like. What about manager number? This field cannot be null. This field cannot be null. Why? Because there will be somebody or more than buddy, maybe more than one buddy that will not have a manager. So we cannot make this null. Keep in mind, I mean, there is somebody at the top, and I don't know what the hierarchy could be. There would be more people who are kind of independent managers. They don't answer to anybody. But at least one person is the head of the organization who does not have a manager. So we can't say not null, right? So this field can be null. Date. Now let's look at this date field. You haven't seen this field before at all in any of the examples we've done. A date field can be written in two ways when you input your data. You can either give it in this format with quotation marks, okay? This is not a text field, guys. Though you see that I have used quotation marks, this is not a text field. A date field is a date field. It's actually numeric in nature. Keep in mind, when you ask for, and you use it in various languages also, when you ask for a date, what it does is it looks at your system date. And if you're asking for the current date, that's what it returns to you. If you say how many days have passed since, say, May 1st, since the semester started, May 5th, 2016. What it does, it takes the current date, it takes the May 16th date in a particular format, and it subtracts them. All computers save date in a numeric format. It's the number of days that have passed from, maybe, that's usually what it is. It could be different. January 1st of 1900. That's the starting base day. And the number of days that have passed from January 1st, 1900 is what is saved in the date variable on your system. It does these math, converts it, and then gives you it in a format that we understand. It will make no sense at all if I say today's date is 568. No sense at all. But what is that 568? 568 days since January 1st, 1900. That's how computer keeps their date. So it's a numeric field, a long numeric field, right? And they also keep the hours, the minutes, the seconds, and the nanoseconds that have passed from January 1st, 1900. That's usually the base date in all computers. As I said, it could be different, but I think I'm okay with saying you can assume that's the starting date. But when we see it, we don't want to see something like, what's the time today? 10876. What does that mean? No clue. Right? So it counts how many nanoseconds have passed or seconds have passed from January 1st, 1900, and these many seconds converts it into hours and minutes and seconds and nanoseconds and gives it back to you. But keep in mind, dates and times are very long numeric variables that are saved on your system. So they're not text. So why did I go with this text? Because it is human readable. It's easy for us to read. YYYY-MM-DD is just human readable. If you wanted to save it as a number, remove the dashes and save it as a number, if that's more readable to you. To me, this is more readable. So I will be storing. So you can store dates in two forms. One, like this, in quotes, YYYY-MM-DD, or two, as a complete number without quotes and without dashes. Choose whatever you like. Really doesn't matter, but be consistent. But be consistent. In your script, either use this format or use the number format. But behind the scenes, a date is a number. It's not text. So please don't use like with it. For example, like is only used with text data. You can use anything that you use with numbers, between, greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, anything, but not likes, because likes are only used. So don't do text comparisons with a date. Okay, so I will be using the high date. Again, I'm just going to make it not null. I'm just going to make it not null just because I choose that I have to know your hiring date, and there's no default of it. Okay, salary. Definitely your salaries are unsigned, right? Your salaries are unsigned. So I kind of stuck to unsigned. I said 7 before decimal, 2 after decimal. And that's more than enough. Like, that's quite a big. You could even go 5 before decimal and 2 after decimal, right? And again, if you want to make this field not null, and similarly, if you want to make this field, now you could say, oh, I can put a value null in it if there is no commission, but putting a 0 in commission would be better than putting a null, according to me. It's a number, but you could choose. You could say, no, I don't want to make it not null. I'll allow null values into it. Null will mean that the commission is 0, but then there is a confusion. So will you allow 0 and null both meaning 0? Sure. But it's always better to make a rule. So commission 0 means there is no commission. So if you are saying I will allow both 0 and null, then when you do your queries, keep in mind you'll have to check both. So if the commission is 0 or the commission is not null, I'm assuming that the person did not earn a commission. So it's up to you what you want to do. I usually don't make 2 rules. I said I'll be final. I'll say nulls are not allowed and a 0 commission means you don't have a commission. But again, there's no hard and fast rule. It's up to you how you want to handle it. And how you want to handle it, you will write your queries accordingly, right? You'll write your queries accordingly. So let's see what I've done. I don't even remember. I didn't have a not null, so I'm sure I did a null somewhere. Check. We'll do it. If I change it here, I'll change it in my queries. So that's my table structure. So the only new data type that you're seeing is the date, but it is an important data type. It can be stored in 2 formats, like a text field with quotes and dashes, or like a number without quotes and without dashes. Use whatever you like. Don't mix and match, please. Though you can do both. It really doesn't matter. I mean, to the system, it's not consistent. It's just me who's, I have a commission null values everywhere. Okay, so if I've said a not null, then can you give me a minute? I just want to be with the same. Let me see what I did with the other section. That way, at least I'm not open with Workbench. Okay. Oh, I gave it a default and then I use the word default here. So I did change their script. I said I'll give it a default of 0. You could have put in 0 here, or you could just change it to null was Control FR, replace. So I'll kind of stick to it. So we have an unsigned, 40, 20, small int unsigned, unsigned, not null, not null. And I gave it a not null. So manager number is not a not null. I stuck with small int. Okay, we'll do that just so that we are on the same grounds. Okay, so I said the default was 0. If you don't, so I am allowing you, if you don't have to enter a value, don't enter it. It will automatically go to 0. So remember, they're kind of contradictory to each other, but that's fine, right? All I'm saying is you can't put a value null. And here I'll just do this. I'll have to replace it. I'll have to replace it. I mean, you could write a new insert statement altogether and remove these records from here and put them there, but this is the easy way out. So let's do this. I think maybe a student would have asked me and I've said, okay, let's go not null. It's just a change. So this is your personal preference. Would you like to keep one insert statement and then use default there? Or you would like to write a new insert statement and remove that field wherever those records don't have a value? Just say insert into table employee and give a field list and give a field list. Entirely up to you, however you like it, right? Just because my table is already ready and to save myself work, I just changed it to default. That's all I did. So a student would have said about, I'm sure there was a question and I kind of answered it and changed the type. So if you say, no, I don't want to do anything of this, then of course, whatever my data would have worked. Null was fine. I said null values are allowed. So it depends upon you. Okay, since I've changed it, I'll stick to my change. Can do two things, right? So there is the table. Notice everybody but this guy, the president, doesn't have a manager number because he is the manager. The president king is the manager. Okay, so we couldn't have made that field as not null. Or there could have been another option. You could have said not null, and whoever doesn't have a manager, we will say something like, oh, this was a employee number. Maybe you would say 0 there. You know what I mean? So this person doesn't have a manager, so his value in the manager number is 0, which is really odd because no employee number can ever be 0. So you could have followed that term. So entirely, as I said, you make the decision, the programmers, and of course you won't get to this stage unless you've designed your tables well. You've thought out what my fields will be. You've thought out what will be allowed and what will not be allowed. And after all those, will there be default values? Will there be, it has to be a null field. It can be a null field. It has to be not null. All those designing procedures have been done and decisions have been made before you get to basically implementing it. So when we do it in class, I sometimes don't do things because I want you to discuss it with me and do it together. And sometimes I just say, take it for granted, kind of. But always, we will always follow good examples, right? So again, as I said, I'm sure student must have asked something and I said, okay, let's do a not null with commission and then just give it a default. Here also, I'm just mentioning, though it just came to my mind. Maybe you make this field not null and give it a default value of 0. But default value of 0 is a kind of odd value. Employee numbers, as soon as you join an organization, you always get an employee number. So maybe I don't give it a default, but nulls are not allowed. So anybody who doesn't have a manager, I put his manager ID as 0. We can take that assumption. But again, those assumptions have to be laid down in black and white. It's not that you made it and the others will just assume it. So everything is laid out and that will go in your comments, right? That will go in your comments. Okay, so this was the table. The table is ready. I can't run this script because I'm definite there are syntax errors in it because statements are not complete. Okay, let's look at a few which I've already completed for you because you've done them before and you don't need to basically redo them. But anything that is new, we will do it. All date things we will do today. Okay, list of all employees, names and their job description. So 2 fields and list of all employees, no where condition. So keep in mind, a select may not have a where condition. It may not. You've done select star from table name since we started doing it. There was no where condition in it. You're just saying, show me all the records. So keep in mind, where selects records, it's filtering the records. And the select star or column names filters column names. So the where condition is to filter records and the column names is to filter columns. So that's where it works. So this one didn't say anything. There was no filtering. I just said no where condition. There is no where condition. Okay. The names of all the managers, select the name where the job description is equal to manager. Only managers. I'm only interested in manager. So definitely I know what is the job description field. What can it contain? I have to know it, right? I mean, either my question will tell you or you'll have to look at something. So if I say names of all manager, here I can make a note. I can say job description is, I'll give you this. Job description is manager so that you don't peek in the table. So you know, oh, I have to check against manager. I've told you the job description is manager. Okay, the names of all employees who do not have a manager. Who do not have a manager. So remember what was that field? Use manager number field to retrieve information. I mean, of course, maybe in an assignment, I won't give you all of this. Now, where is the where? Now, let's see. The names of all, it could be a single person. Maybe only one person doesn't have a manager. But what is it?
Where manager number equals null.
Is null. Where manager number is null. So complete it. The field was called manager number. Oops, the field was called manager number. So I've given you what the field is called. So I mean, table structure, you can always see. I'll show you how you can see the table structure actually. So if somebody has created the table, you can always see the structure of the table. It's no big deal. The statement is describe. There is the command, we call them commands in SQL. The command is describe table. And you can look at the structure of the table. So you'll say, how do I know what are the fields in that table? I'm just a programmer writing select statement. You can always see the structure. How can you see the records? Select star. So, I mean, you can look at things if you want to, but when I say don't peek when you are kind of saying, oh, if the color is not orange and green, is it red and blue? So we are not looking at those. That's what I say, don't peek in tables. So where manager is null, please keep in mind not equal to is null. That's what we've said. Now, if we change our mind that we'll put in a value of 0 in that field, then of course our queries will change. So according to what I've written in my table description, I'm writing my queries, okay? So I have said that the manager will be null for employees who do not have a manager. So I don't know how many of them they are. So therefore I said the name or names. I know there is only one, but we don't know, right? So that's the query. So not equal to, please, is null. And it will change if you change your table structure, okay? The names and hire date of the employees who were hired after 1981. Now we have no clue. We don't have to go and check, oh, were you in 82, in 80? We have no clue. The question is after 1981. That's all we have. So anybody after December 31st of 1981 or January 1st, 1982, anybody greater than that. That's all. We don't know what the other years are. And therefore I've said, don't peek in the table to look at the other years. Don't, you can't. You have no clue of the other hiring dates. Oops, of other hiring dates. And note that dates can be written as text in the format as I've done or as a number in this format, but do not use, dates are not text. Keep that in mind. They are not text. You cannot use like with dates since they are not text as per se. You can bold that if you like or keep it in mind. So treat them like numbers. They are numbers. Okay. So irrespective of how you write them, with quotes and dashes or without quotes and dashes, they are numbers. They're not text. Okay, so let's look at it. I've given a few here. Let's look at what. So hire date is greater than 1981, right? So hire date is greater than. So take your field. You don't know about anything else. So if your date is greater than, I'll write it both ways for you. It is greater than 1981 31st month and year, month and date. Job done? Or you could have done the same thing like this. I mean, again, I'm being consistent just because I've said I will. Put a hash here, put this, and here you can remove the quotes. You can remove the quotes. You can remove the dashes. You can even write it like this. YYMMDD. Here, whatever makes more sense to you. But be consistent, yes.
Would it also be correct if you put greater than or equal to 010196?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm going to do in my second one. No problem. So here you will say is greater than equal to, and you will say 1982 0101. But you had a question? Same?
I was
No.
wondering if it was fine with quotes.
Both. With quotes?
Without quotes.
No. The date, if it is written in this format, is with quotes. If it is written in this format, is without quotes.
Okay.
That's the rule. Okay. I'm not sure if slashes work. Could be. I'll have to check up MySQL. In some Oracle databases, instead of dash, slashes also work. Okay. I can check it up. I think it is allowed, but I'm not 100% sure. But definitely dashes work. So you will have to put the quotes if you're going to use this format. You can use this format if you like. I like this format because it's more human readable. It's your preference. But I would at least like you to be consistent in your script. Don't mix and match. Like it's a mess, right? Whatever you choose. So you can write it this way, and this is also entirely correct. Please do not say like. Cannot. I'll show you an example of like, which will work. Logically, it will work, like it will give you the right answers, but sometimes it may just not work, okay? And I'll give you why you shouldn't use. So here are the answers. So hire date, whatever makes more sense to you, either as a text field or as a number, whatever works. It's entirely up to you. But please be consistent. I've always said, use one way. If you're using single quotes for text, use single quotes everywhere. If you're using double quotes for text, use it everywhere. Though nothing is wrong. I don't know, it just makes it easier to read, okay? Names and hire dates of all employees that were hired in 1981 only. So now only people who were hired in 1981. So there are a few ways of doing it. Let's do it. where hired date, so anybody in 1981, greater than equal to, so many ways of doing it, and less than equal to, that's one way of doing it. These people were hired in 1980, 1981. Copy and paste, 1981. That's one way of doing it. 12, 31. Okay. If I am doing a greater than equal to and less than equal to, I can definitely do between, which is more English-like and better. Oh, yeah, 1981, right. Oops. Will definitely work. I'm not, let's see if it is a warning or it is, yeah, maybe warning because it does work. Therefore, it's a warning. You could do this, please avoid it because dates are not text. So please don't use it. I will dock off marks if I see it. Let me put a note for you. You will lose marks or something, whatever makes more sense to you. So, and many students do it just because, you know what, it works, but they're not thinking what they're doing. So where higher date, like, and they'll do something like this. Just lazy to do anything and everything. Oh, I was using double quotes or single quotes. I'll be consistent. And yeah, this will work. Anything that starts with 1981 means the person was hired in 1981 and it will work. Fortunately or unfortunately, whatever you would like to say, this will work. Okay, so let's do it. So I'm going to comment out before you run the script. Please comment out the rest. Please comment out the rest because I know there are some that are not yet complete. Okay, so the rest is all commented now. Okay, now you can run. We know where the answer is. So I'm going to show you the last three answers. The rest are still okay, but these date ones are new for you. So we'll start working on dates. Okay, okay, so save and run. So once you will have to definitely run it completely. So these were people who were hired in 1981. This is with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. This is with like the same 10 people. The same 10 people, bless you. So it works, the like works. In this one, it works just because it's only 1981. It works, but dates are not text. They're not text, please, they're numbers. Use them like numbers. Same as saying you're using equal and you're using percentage, or you're using like and you're not putting a wildcard character. For me, that's the same concept. For me, syntactically, they're not, that's not how you should do them. They're incorrect, according to me. Okay, so those are the three. These are persons who were hired after 1981. So notice 1982, 83, 1982, 83. And I think these were before. This was a person who did not have a manager. King, the guy King had no manager. The rest we've seen, kind of, right? So these are new. So this is more than 1981 and these are in 81. And all three answers are same. So the like works. I must tell you that it works. It does. Did it even give a warning? I have given a comment says it gives a warning. See, do you have a... Uh-oh, now where did I do that error? Somewhere at the end. It's not even given a warning actually. So the newest version is not giving a warning even. So I must remove that from my comment that it's giving a warning. So somewhere I think somewhere down I have an uncommented field. Oh, here it is, right? Oh, because I changed my table name. Thank you. There. That was the only one that was not commenting. So remember, SQL will run till where it knows it can run, and then it will just stop. So luckily for me, my last statement, so everything ran because it was my last statement. So I'll have to remove that comment. It's not even giving a warning. So it just says, I'll do it for you. To me, it doesn't make sense. If it like that, because it is not, it is. So like should only be used with text. Maybe in the older version it did, and therefore I had that in my mind. Oh. This is very irritating. Like should only be used with X. Okay, there. Right, we'll take a break. It is break time, right? So keep that in mind. It just worked, but MySQL does some things that it shouldn't be doing. So treat dates as numbers. Use whatever format you're more comfortable with, but try to be consistent in your script. Again, I can only say try to be because there is no rule which says you can mix and match. So try to be consistent. It will be easier to read. I'll stick to this format just because I find it more human readable. That's my choice. But you can do whatever you like. Both formats are perfectly fine. Okay, so that's saved, and when I complete it, I will put it on Blackboard. Don't worry about it. And then we'll come and do the rest. Take a 20-minute break, please. Be back by 20 to 10.